Vinyl, ceramic, and hardwood floors. For a limited time only, get spectacular.
That fits you best. Individual answers. Bank one. Another beautiful autumn night in Chicago. Temperatures in the low 70s. They climbed up over 80 degrees today. Ball was flying out of here last night. Jack McKeon watched as his team hit 3 home runs in the 3rd inning en route to a 9-8 11 inning win. Let's take a look at his lineup. Brought to you by State Farm. Juan Pierre in center field. Luis Castillo at second. Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate. Derek Lee at first. Miguel Cabrera again at third. Juan Encarnacion in right. A ladder third of Jeff Conine in left field. Alex Gonzalez is a shortstop. And Brad Penny is on the mound and getting a start for the Cubs air ace. 23-year-old Southern Cal grad Mark Pryor.
The numbers are gaudy, Tom. You look at that 18-6. This is a guy clearly in the running for the Cy Young Award. Making just his 2nd postseason start. We'll tell you about that in a second. Here's the scouting report on him. Great command, mid-90s fastball, and tremendous poise on the mound for a guy who's been in the big leagues less than 2 years. That other postseason start, Game 3 of the division series against the Atlanta Braves, a 3-1 victory, gave up just 2 hits in a complete game. He was awesome.
Pryor unquestionably the brightest star on the pitching scene among many years. Many feel that he has the stuff and the makeup to be one of the game's greats, if not already. Our game also available in Spanish by utilizing the SAP button on your television.
Well, if the experts are right, this should be a traditionalist dream tonight, with it being a low-scoring affair.
Pierre digging in, trying to just pop one over the head of Aramis Ramirez at third. Strike one, and we are underway.
Question is, when are they ever right?
Al, you've worked on the mound with Chuck Merriweather, the home plate umpire behind the plate. Pitchers up, hitters up.
I think neither. I think Chuck does a good job. He's a little inconsistent, I guess, but he does a good job.
Pierre takes down low. 1 ball and 1 strike. You may remember home plate umpire Jerry Crawford had to lead the game last night, not feeling well, and that holds true again today. Jerry not a part of our umpiring crew. Larry Poncino has come in and will work down the left field line. On the ground is Gonzalez, and Pierre retired and 1 away. Let's take a look at the Cubs defensively. It'll be Alou, Lofton, and Sosa, left, center, and right. Ramirez, Gonzalez, Grzelcyk, and Simon again at first. A battery of Pryor and Paul Bacco. Bacco only started 8 of Mark Pryor's 30 games behind the plate. Damian Miller caught the overwhelming majority of Pryor starts this season. Strike one to Luis Castillo. Castillo 3 of 5 in a game last night with a double and stole a couple of bases.
Getting ahead. First inning is such a tempo setter, especially for as great as Mark Pryor is. It's his first postseason game. There's different butterfly jitters. You're much more nervous. You want to get through the first inning any way you can, and certainly getting ahead the way he's done already with Pierre and now Castillo. It's a good start.
Watch for him to stay out of the middle of the plate with his pitches, being on the corner with everything.
Way up high, 1-2 on Castillo. Pryor, a native Southern Californian, grew up outside of San Diego. He was a Cubs #1 pick in 2001. 2-2 the count on Castillo.
I'll take that back. Drafted... Pryor's first NLCS. I'm sorry.
I'll cut you some slack on that one.
Just a little.
First one you've seen.
3-2. Pryor, originally drafted by the New York Yankees as a first-round sandwich pick out of University High in Bonita, California. Was offered a pile of money, but went to Vanderbilt originally, and then transferred to the University of Southern California after his freshman year. And after getting ahead of Castillo, Pryor walks him. Ivan Rodriguez. Last night, 2 hits and 5 at-bats, hit a 3-run home run to get the Marlins back in the game after falling behind 4-0. And then in the 9th inning, gave him a 2-run lead with a single into right. 5 RBIs in Game 1, and Rodriguez 11 runs batted in so far in the postseason.
And he's been flat out carrying this offense, and that's what they brought him in here to do. He signed a 1-year, $10 million deal. Where's he going to be next year?
Found on a play by Rodriguez. He has gone on record as saying he very much wants to stay with the Florida Marlins. Now, whether or not they can keep him, of course, remains to be seen. He got to the postseason with the Texas Rangers, and you see his team went 1-9 in 10 games without a home run, 3 batted in just 5 with the Marlins, the 2 home runs and 11 RBI.
No wonder he likes it better. He has looked upon to do so much more for this team than he was with Texas.
That's paint down the way. 94-mile-an-hour fastball in the corner. Great pitch.
Baco sets up, frames it. That's a strike. The only way that's not a strike is if Pudge thinks that ball is too low. And both of these pitchers are going to love that pitch being called a strike.
Check swing, they appeal. No, says Fielding Colbert. 1-2 on Ivan Rodriguez.
Every starting pitcher goes into a game trying to eliminate either a hot hitter or a guy you have to be careful with. Tom Seaver talks about this all the time, and I would think that Pudge would be the guy, mainly because he stays inside the ball and he's trying to go to right center, which would be a good matchup for him with Pryor tonight, as hard as Pryor throws.
Over by the stands, and a fan interfered. No, they're saying that Baco reached into the stands.
That's the right call, Tom. The fan actually has the right to the ball if it breaks the plane of that wall. But if he's a Cubs fan, let Baco catch the ball. You can see the plane of that wall right there. Baco's going to reach over that. That's the fan's ball if he wants it. And look at Chuck Merriweather right on top of the play. Where are you Cub fans sitting in some of the best seats of the house, not letting your catcher catch that ball? Heck, I bet if Baco caught it, he would have turned around, called timeout, given the ball to the guy.
One and two again to Pudge. This time they set up away.
Here's the difference, though. When they set up away in last night's ball game, that's where Pudge wants the ball. But they've come in hard. And I mean, if you miss in off the plate on his fist like that last pitch, now you can get him out away.
And they do.
Psycho, what you were talking about last night with Borowski, unlike Borowski, he showed a fastball inside. That's a fastball away, paint down and away in the opposite corner. He busts him up and in, and instead of going away, he went twice in. It's called doubling up. He doubled up inside to make Pudge think that maybe there's another fastball in, and that makes that curveball much more effective.
2 down in the inning, and now Derek Lee, the batter, 0 for 5 in game 1. Low and away.
The oldest adage of the game is up and in, then low and away. Well, hitters aren't stupid. They know that too, and that's why good pitchers have to double up. Come in hard twice. When you're leaning out over thinking that second one's going to be a low and away, you get right back in their kitchen.
Ripped into right field, a base hit by Derek Lee. Castillo going to put on the brakes, and the Marlins have runners at first and second here in the opening inning with 2 away against Pryor. And the 20-year-old Miguel Cabrera coming up.
Derek Lee having one of his most impressive seasons. That's a high fastball out over, but very difficult to get on top of. There's a lot of high ball hitters in this Florida Marlins lineup. And we saw him flash the leather. Every one of the Marlins talk about this guy. They say if he doesn't win the Gold Glove this year, they should throw the award away.
Cabrera has had a fabulous postseason run. 6 hits, a home run, 4 batted in, and all of the damage has been done in his last 2 postseason games. Breaking ball in there, a strike. In the first 3 games of the division series against the Giants, Cabrera was hitless, 0 for 9. But in the last 2 games, 6 hits in 11 at-bats. with a solo blast in the left center field off Carlos Zambrano. And then Encarnacion made it back-to-back home runs in that 5-run third.
Cabrera, just 20 years old, became the second youngest player to hit a postseason home run. Of course, Andre Jones hit 2 in the same game against the New York Yankees when he was just 19 years old.
High tapper up the third base line, foul.
I just wondered where the Marlins would be when Lowell went down. I think there was a lot of bad feelings in the not only in the Marlin dugout but also around baseball. As good as Lowell was, and for Cabrera to come up and do what he's done, awfully valuable.
Good look at Mike Lowell, hit the home run last night. And the funny thing about that is these players had no idea who Cabrera was. He was playing in Double-A. They didn't know who they were getting to fill in for Lowell.
He had a good pitch to hit right there and fouled it straight back. Fastball up.
Well, he almost had a protected type swing with a good breaking ball down, which tells me he shortened his swing and he's just trying to go up the middle. And then an elevated fastball, definitely fast enough to get by him, and he's just putting it in play. It's good at bat.
2 on, 2 out. And again, trying to get Cabrera to chase that high fastball. That's the one thing in the limited time we have seen about Cabrera, and the point is very well made, Al, that a lot of young hitters, you figure you can feed off their aggression. But Cabrera is showing that, okay, I'm going to take some big hacks up to 2 strikes, everything else put in play.
Thus making him a very difficult hitter to pitch to.
I think something we have to keep in mind right from the outset is the fact that Pryor has never in his career thrown more than 200 innings. Threw 211 during the regular season. He threw a 9-inning shutout in his first postseason outing. Always throws a lot of pitches. I mean, he's a guy that can run it out there 130 pitches. But at this point in the year, will the wear and tear and how tired will he get, especially the fact right now he's already thrown a bunch of pitches that they have not chased.
1-2 on Cabrera. And again, fouled out of play. Pryor went on the disabled list in July after that collision with Marcus Giles of the Atlanta Braves. And after coming off the DL, the numbers don't get much better than that.
Both of those guys. Giles also went nuts after that as well.
This is the 7th pitch of this at-bat. Struck him out. A walk, a hit, 2 left. Brad Penny will face Sammy and the Cubs when we return. Lineup presented by State Farm Insurance. Same lineup as last night for Dusty. Kenny Lofton in center field. Mark Resnick at second. Sammy Sosa batting third and right. Moises Alou in left. Aramis Ramirez at third. Randall Simon at first, with a ladder third of Alex Gonzalez, Paul Bacco, and Mark Pryor. And on the mound for the Marlins, a 25-year-old from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Brad Penny came to the Marlins in '99 from the Arizona Diamondbacks in a trade for Matt Manti. Fastball in there, a strike. Good solid numbers this season, Steve, for Brad Penny.
14-10 on the year. He can do nothing but get better. Just a big hoss out there on the mound. Says he weighs 250, 6'4", 250. I say, what happens when he puts the other foot on the scale? That is a big man. Explosive four-seam fastball, upwards of 97 miles an hour. He will challenge every hitter up there. And the biggest thing that he needs to do is establish that curveball. He's getting a lot better at bouncing a curveball when he's ahead in the count.
Foul out of play. Penny has already made a couple of postseason appearances. He did not have a good start against the Giants in Game 2 of that division series, lasting 4 innings, allowed 4 hits and 4 runs. He pitched out of the bullpen. Allowed 1 hit, no runs in an inning and 2/3. Penny, that big body, able to block the bouncer back from Lofton, 1 away.
Kick save and a beauty, and then throw him out. I mean, how are you going to get it past that big guy out there? Pretty good agility, knocks it down, keeps the ball in front of him, doesn't panic here. Easily finds it, sets his feet, and that's all she wrote.
Penny, an aggressive competitor. He will go right after the hitters, as Steve talked about. Will pitch inside. A hard-nosed bulldog type out there for the Marlins here tonight. Now Gonzalez, 2 of 5 in a series opener, had a triple and a run batted in. Strike one. Back-to-back hitters, Al, and you said it before the ball game got started. In the opening inning, Penny has to come out, throw strikes, get ahead. Get ahead,
get through that first inning any way you can, settle down. This is a good matchup here. Gonzalez, good fastball hitter. Penny's establishing his fastball.
Fastball grounded and then off the glove of Gonzalez, a base hit. So, good fastball hitter. First hit for the Cubs, and Sammy coming up.
Tried to go to fastball away. Just moved back over the plate. Normally a right-hander throwing the fastball away like that, you wanted a truer, straighter pitch as opposed to it sinking or running back.
This ball just glancing off the glove of Gonzalez at short. I'll tell you, I've only had a chance to see him play a very few number of games, but his quickness defensively is very, very impressive. I mean, he almost got to that ball.
Now Sammy. He got his first postseason home run. It came in the bottom of the 9th inning. His team down 2 last night with Ugether Bina on the mound, and it tied the game at 8.
I don't know that, Tom. I don't know that Sammy will see any kind of breaking ball in the strike zone. I think they're going to throw high fastballs. I think they believe that Sammy can't catch up with a good fastball that Penny has. And if he does throw a breaking ball, it'll be an account where he's looking for a strikeout, and he'll try to bounce it and get Sammy to chase him.
Fastball in, 3-0. As soon as it left the bat last night, you knew we were tied up. Look at that scene on Waveland Avenue.
That's amazing to me that is outside the stadium. It's not like he hit that into the left field seats. He hit it out of the stadium, and then not many people were waiting for it.
A 4-pitch walk to Sosa. And not one of the 4 pitches anywhere near the strike zone.
There's not a player in the National League that doesn't like coming here. It is so much fun.
Al, he had trouble. I know they're trying to get in on the hands of Sammy Sosa, but he ran every one of those pitches in. Gonzalez got a hit that was supposed to be away, and it ran in. And I noticed where Penny winds up on the mound. He is all the way on that side of the mound. Why?
Well, mainly because of what he's actually doing. In order to drive the ball away, I think maybe Brad is trying to stay on that side of the plate to enable him to get through the ball and finish better so that the ball stays away.
And he's doing the exact opposite right now.
He's overthrowing.
Good first pitch breaking ball right there to Moises Alou.
That's a great call by Pudge. You have 4 pitches in a row. You see your pitcher overthrowing, obviously excited about the moment. Slow him down by just throwing a first pitch curveball. Mo being a great fastball hitter, he's going to take it.
2 on, 1 out for Alou. And it bounces up there. Good pickup by Rodriguez. Man, is he something to watch behind that plate.
He got crossed up right there. Tommy Pudge is going to come out. That's a fastball, and he's looking for a breaking ball. Looked like it bounced on me. That caught him right in the glove. Looking for a breaking ball, got a fastball, and when you throw about a 82-mile-an-hour breaking ball and about a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, that will mess you up a little bit.
Here are the signs. You go through sequences with a runner at second base, assuming that they can steal the sign to relay it to the hitter. Each pitcher, some staffs, pitchers have different signs, and either Pudge and Penny didn't get together right before, and they just assumed that it was the same signs, or maybe Brad didn't see it.
And after that pitch, Rodriguez walked out to talk things over and make sure.
2-2-1-1.
Breaking ball.
The signs can get as simple as the second sign I flash and as complicated as pumping and counting, and you as a pitcher being able to shake off with the movements that you make.
I like to add and subtract, especially if there's been a lot of activity at second base. 1, 2, 1. Because they do relay it.
Grounded foul, 2-2.
Mo got a fastball, ran in on him, 95. It's tough to keep that fair.
Many times, if you're a guy on second base, you won't necessarily, especially early, if you can't pick up the signs or you can't relay it, what you will try to relay to the hitter is location of the pitch. A lot of times it's the last place you look as you're leading off second base. If you keep looking back towards the second baseman, that means the ball's going to be away from a right-handed hitter. You're trying to tell them where they're going with it.
Swung on and popped up into foul ground and out of play. Still 2-2 on Moises Alou, the former Florida Marlins star of that 1997 World Championship team.
I know it's early, but so far Brad with great stuff, 95 or better. He's messing with his location, especially away, and you can get away with that early in the game when your arm's feeling strong and you have plus stuff, but either Pudge or Brad have to get together to figure out a way to drive the ball away and locate more. Because 95, these guys will turn on it.
Especially if you're trying to go away and it floats back out over the middle of the plate.
In the air right field. Drifting back, Encarnacion. He has plenty of room. Tagging and going to third is Gonzalez. They're on the corners with 2 gone.
Encarnacion, the #1 fielding outfielder in the National League.
Did not commit an error the entire season. Not one.
Encarnacion didn't even start playing baseball until he was 14 years old. Gonzalez tagging right away. Sammy halfway at first, going back to first, and then technically perfect by Encarnacion in the outfield.
Now Aramis Ramirez. You see his numbers in the postseason. 6 of 28. Went 1 of 5 in game 1 last night. Gonzalez, the runner at third. Sosa leads at first, held on by Lee. First pitch breaking ball low and away. The wind was blowing out last night anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour. The flags still in the early going, and we tell you it is very warm here in Chicago. We were here, Steve, a week and a half ago. At nighttime it was in the high 40s.
Not today.
Breaking ball, chopped foul, 1-1.
Coming back with a 1-0 curveball, Ramirez definitely has to look for some fastball, and he got a curveball.
There's the grip, there's the spin. You see the downward spinning action of the curveball, and then the downward action of the actual pitch once it gets to the hitter.
But that tells me as a pitcher too, in a 1-0 curveball, and he still swings at it, and it's a ball, tells me he's very aggressive.
Fastball buzzes him up and in, and Penny will do plenty of that. The numbers for Ramirez. He started the season with the Pirates, came over to the Cubs on July the 22nd with Kenny Lofton. Fastball high again.
Well, if you think about the acquisition and the acquisitions plural that this team made, the Cubs, for their postseason run. I mean, Ramirez in the last 7 weeks of the season had 14 home runs. That matched him with Sammy Sosa for second most in the league. Jim Thome had 20 in that span.
3-1 pitch. And another fastball high.
Brad has got great stuff. To me, when you're leaving the ball up, and especially when you're trying to go away, you're falling off. Can't really see with that angle, but basically the body is going out before the arm is in position to be able to drive down through the zone. He's got to just slow down and stay back. Easier said than done, I know.
That's
NLCS.
excitement. That's excitement. He's rushing the ball to the plate. He is a little bit more of a drop and drive type pitcher, but he's not dropping on that back leg, and he's rushing the ball to the home plate.
Randall Simon, first pitch swinging, base hit left field. Gonzalez scores. Sosa will score. And the Cubs on the board for a second straight night in the opening inning.
Al, you talked about the first pitch get me over curveball that he threw to Moises Alou. He should have done the same thing here to Randall Simon because he's a first pitch fastball slashing hacker up there. He is going to be swinging.
So right. And after watching him on the bench, I imagine Simon saying, I'm looking for a fastball somewhere out over. I'm not swinging anything off speed because he hasn't been throwing for strikes. Good hitting.
First pitch fastball in there to Alex Gonzalez. Randall Simon only 13 postseason at bats, but now with 5 hits and 4 runs batted in. Breaking ball and a good one. 0-2. Josh Beckett allowed 4 runs in the opening inning last night. But Carlos Zambrano struggled in his 6 innings, allowed 9 hits and 6 runs. Falling behind against Pryor, a tall order. Al, you talked about that at the beginning. It's not like you're just down at the end of one. It could be a loss ultimately at the end of one.
That's right. And a guy like Mark Pryor, in the season that he's having, you get a couple-run lead, you have leeway in the sense that if you are behind in a Marlin hitter that has home run power and you're up by more than one, you have 2 or 3 runs, you feel much more relaxed. And when a pitcher is relaxed, you make better pitches.
And I think with a guy like Pryor and the electric stuff that he has, if he falls behind a guy and he's not as comfortable going after him, he can be finer. He can go after the nasty pitch. If he walks him, he doesn't care. He goes after the next guy because he's got a couple runs on the board in his favor.
Penny having a hard time getting on the same page with Ivan Rodriguez. Like a lot of young pitchers, Brad Penny far better at home than on the road. You see career outstanding at Pro Player Stadium. A ways to go everywhere else.
That was one of the first times that Penny found the outside corner with that fastball. He didn't get the call.
High fly ball in the left center field. Playable for Conine, and that's out. But Randall Simon takes advantage of a hit and a couple of Penny walks and drives in 2 first inning runs. With a 2-out 2-run single off Brad Penny, and it's 2-0 Chicago. Game 2 of this National League Championship Series. Mark Pryor on the mound for the Cubs, and Juan Encarnacion digging in, swing and a miss. Encarnacion 2 of 5 here last night. Hit a solo home run, one of the 3 Marlin home runs in that 3rd inning.
And that was a bullet.
Encarnacion during the regular year hit .270, 19 home runs, career high 94 runs batted in. Here is that bullet you were talking about on this bat in the 3rd inning.
Watch if you can see this thing hit the back wall. You can't because all those guys are watching it hit the back wall. Look at this. Bam! Off the screen out there. It almost knocked it down.
And that one shot into right field. It will drop a fair ball into the corner. Good ricochet for Sosa. Here comes a throw into second. Not going to be in time. Encarnacion runs well. A couple of hits already for the Marlins. And bear in mind, in Pryor's first postseason start against Atlanta, he allowed 2 hits in the entire game.
This is a little quirk about Wrigley Field. Watch Sammy play the carom off this wall beautifully. He almost has a shot at throwing Encarnacion out because of the way that ball caroms off the wall. Trying to get him not to lunge so much at the plate. Stayed back very well on that one.
He was able to keep that fair because he's keeping his hands inside the ball and trying to go to right center. I think this entire Marlins lineup tonight is going to try to just drive the ball to right center.
Now Jeff Conine. 1 of 4 last night, had a triple and a run batted in. 5 for 19 in the postseason. He hooks that one into left field, a base hit, and they will hold up Encarnacion at third. So just like that, here come the fighting fish from Florida. Runners on the corners and nobody out. For Dusty Baker before the game last night, before the game again today, singing the praises of this club under Jack McKeon. He said, boy, that is one good ball club. And Jack McKeon said it's the finest group of guys he has ever been around in all his years managing in the major leagues. And you got to bear in mind, although Jack last managed in 2000, he has managed a lot of big league games.
72 years old, McKeon is. Been around a while.
Real complimentary of the bench guys, role players like Banks, Fox, Lenny Harris, Mordecai, Redmond.
Number 8 hitter in the Florida lineup is Alex Gonzalez. Raider Jack in his 845 wins, but none bigger than last night. It's the first time he's managed in the postseason. 0-2.
This is why the National League, in my opinion, is the superior league. Even though it's first and third and nobody out, Fryer realizes by either infield pop-up or keeping the ball in the infield or a strikeout, you have the pitcher on deck, probably a strikeout. You can get out of this with no damage.
And how does that make it superior to the American League? Because the pitchers can't hit?
Because 3-2 is better than 12-8.
All day, every day. I'm with you, Al. Swing and a miss. That's a huge out.
I don't know where you guys were, but I saw a 9-8 game last night that was pretty good.
But it took 11 innings. Let's send it to L.A. Here's Jeannie Zelasco.
Mike Mussina in a bit of trouble in New York. 2 on courtesy 2 walks in the second inning. But the Moose cleaned up his own mess. No score at the stadium. Bottom 2.
Boy, good thing Mussina got to throw to the pitcher there to get out of that mess.
Well, here is the pitcher, and he can't swing the bat, Brad Penny. He had 9 hits during the regular season, had 2 home runs, and 8 runs batted in. Squares around a bunt, and it's strike 1.
Now, you brought this up, Al, getting to this point. Do you want him to put the ball in play? Are you trying to get a double play out of him, or do you want to strike him out? You got to face Pierre.
I want to strike out, and if that square around bunt is from McKeon, that's a great call. This is a safety bunt. Putting the ball in play, Encarnacion's going to see where the ball ends up. That way, even if you can see the out at first, it's second and third with 2 outs with Pierre coming up. He puts the ball in play, there's a good chance he could put it on the ground, double play.
Well, Penny took the first pitch for a strike after squaring around, made contact the next time, and fouled it out of play.
The reason why it makes sense, too, is because the shortstop has to cover second. The third baseman comes in if he has to field the bunt. Encarnacion can run as far as the third baseman will run. He's not worried about getting picked off.
Butcher Boy is swinging a foul ball out of play. Penny taking a look down at longtime Chicago White Sox star shortstop and the Marlins third base coach, your old buddy Psycho, Ozzie Guillen.
You talk about a guy with some sweet hands. And you see Gonzalez. Both Gonzalez's in this game. The shortstops are excellent. That man could flat out pick it.
0-2 to Penny. Struck him out on a curveball. Prior back-to-back strikeouts after runners were on the corners with nobody out. Time for a Sprint virtual manager question. If you were a manager, which bullpen would you want of the 4 remaining playoff teams? Marlins, Cubs, Red Sox, Yankees. To answer, use your PCS Vision phone from Sprint or log on to foxsports.com, keyword MLB on Fox.
I'll tell you, I have Danny Evans on speed dial. He's the general manager of the Dodgers. I'm going to try to get their bullpen. Is that a possibility?
Or you could call Jerry Hunsaker in Houston and try to get Dotel and Wagner.
I'll still take the Yankees.
Because of Rivera?
Rivera.
Runners on the corners, and now Juan Pierre, the batter. 0-1. Popped up and out of play. Told you last night, Pierre very tough to strike out. Not that that's this big of a deal right now. You already have 2 outs in the inning. But Pierre is going to put the ball in play, and anything can happen thereafter.
And I think that's what the point that I was asking you, Al. I know if you let the pitcher put the ball in play, there's a chance he gets a hit and drives in a run. But if he bounces it to your shortstop, you get the double play. You're out of the inning. You don't have to face this leadoff hitter with guys on first and third. And his chances of putting the ball in play are much greater.
Popped up, and Pryor is going to get out of an early jam for the 2nd straight inning. The Marlins leave 2 off. Only in theaters and by Viagra. Step up to the plate and ask your doctor if a free sample of Viagra is right for you. Paul Bacco, first pitch swinging, down, strike 1 to Brad Penny. The Cubs in front, 2-0.
After Penny having a 28-pitch first inning, I'd like to see, especially in the bottom of the order with Pryor up, to make him work a little bit. 28-pitch inning is high. At that rate, after 5 innings, he'll have 140 pitches.
That's some outstanding math skills you just dropped on us right there.
I used your calculator.
1-1 to Bacco. Hitless in the postseason. 0 for 7 overall. Hitless in 3 at-bats here last night. 1-2.
With the left-handed Bacco, if you see Encarnacion, he's playing very deep, and as much as Penny goes away, he's not going to pull the ball.
Up the middle, Castillo able to cut it off, but no chance to throw out Bacco. An infield hit to open the Cubs' second.
Now, once again, we've seen 2 plays where they were both base hits on ground balls up the middle, but the quickness of the defense of this Florida Marlin middle infield. Look at this. Look at where this ball is. That's just a base hit up the middle. You have no business going up and getting that ball, let alone thinking you might throw the guy out. These guys are so quick. What makes a pitching staff better? Great defense.
Pryor had 7 sacrifices during the regular season. Fouls this one away, strike 1. Mark hit a home run, knocked in 6.
The high fastball, your best 4-seam fastball about letter high, to me is the most difficult pitch to bunt softly and not pop it up. A lot of times a catcher will call a curve or a slider. You keep that ball on the ground. You elevate a high, hard fastball. Try to keep it soft.
That fastball looked like it was down, and Pryor able to lay it down.
It's a good bunt. Great bunt.
While we have a moment, we'll send it back to Los Angeles. Here's Jeannie Zelasco.
Tim Wakefield faced 5 batters, bottom 2 in the Bronx, but the Yankees couldn't take advantage. They left 2 on as Nick Johnson ground out. We have no score. Top 3.
During this season, in the 19 meetings between Boston and the Yankees won 10, the Red Sox won 9.
And why the National League is better? Execution. We have a pitcher who laid down a great bunt. Runner now in scoring position. Let's see what Lofton does with it.
I know in the American League that DH would just come up and swat one into the seats. You'd have 2 runs.
Oh, that's
Blown away. Oh, the ball. That looked like a pretty good pitch.
Penny's talking to himself after that pitch as well.
Here's a pitch. It's on the corner. Let's see if it's the right height.
A little low.
Might have been low. I'd like to see the side shot on that.
Well, there's no question, Al. He is all over the place. You can see the side swing the side view of that last pitch that you wanted to see if it was lower than his knees.
Runner at second, one away, 2-0. The count on Kenny Lofton. Bouncing ball up the middle. Gonzalez has it bounced over his head. And scoring is Paco to make it 3-0. That ball took a funny hop.
Gonzalez was going to get to that ball too, and he should have, but that took a very strange hop back to his right and over his head. This might come right into your living room. This might be the greatest view you're going to see of it. Watch it bounce back to his right. Up, look at that. He's just saying, where did it go? Watch his feet. His feet tell you where that ball goes. Look at him try to turn his hips all the way back to try to get back to that ball.
Talking to the infielders, this infield is one of the worst in the sense of getting hops like that in the National League.
Strike one on a check swing appeal to field and culprit to Mark Resolana.
From the center field view, check swing. Didn't look like a real strong effort to go after that ball.
Cubs in front 3-0 here in the bottom half of the second inning. Lofton a single and an RBI after the Cubs got two off Brad Penny in the opening inning. Runner goes. Breaking ball taken, and Pudge will not even bother to throw.
And you know, Tommy, that does not surprise me at all, because I think Kenny Lofton, who is the active leader in stolen bases, if you don't count Ricky Henderson, has been inspired by what he saw in Pierre and Castillo yesterday. And he said, you know what? I will be getting in on this kind of fun for the rest of this series. And I think you're going to see him doing a lot more running the rest of this series, because he doesn't want to be shown up. He's the master teaching the kids.
Breaking ball and a broken bat roller to the right side. Castillo will throw out Resolana, getting Lofton down to third, 2 out in the inning. Tomorrow, baseball's postseason continues at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Game 2 of the American League Championship Series between Boston and New York. Derek Lowe against Andy Pettitte. Then Friday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, Game 3 of the National League Championship Series. We move to South Florida. Kerry Wood for the Cubs against Mark Redmond of Florida. Sports' biggest month of the year continues tomorrow night only on Fox. 0-1 to Sammy.
Lofton now needs just 2 more stolen bases in the postseason to tie Ricky Henderson as the all-time leader in that category as well. "33 times Ricky stole a base in the postseason.
Of course, a lot of Ricky's postseason appearances were long before there was an extra layer of playoffs, before we had the advent of the wild card and the division series, which began in 1995.
But also when there was a greater emphasis on the stolen base.
High drive, straightaway center. Sammy plays long ball, and I mean long ball.
Wow. Wow. Remember, we said that the Florida Marlins don't think Sammy can get on top of a good fastball up in the zone. This is not up high enough, and Sammy can still get to that one. Crushed.
Breaking ball in there, a strike.
He took the first pitch strike, fastball down the middle of it. With the runner in score position, I don't know why he swung, or he didn't swing, and now I know.
495 feet.
Ball hit on top of the camera well house out there. It hit behind it and bounced back.
Ball in the air to short right field, and Encarnacion's got it. That'll end the inning. 2 in the first, 3 in the second. You can watch baseball a long time here at Wrigley Field, and very few home runs will travel further than that one. Monster 2-run home run to straightaway center field. That is without a doubt. As that ball is popped up down the left field line, Gonzalez will wave off a Lou, and Castillo retired 1 away. Steve, I worked here every day for 6 years and used to hear our friend Ron Santos say many times, and even going back to his playing days in the 1950s, Roberto Clemente was the only player he can remember that hit a ball over that camera well in straightaway center out near the scoreboard.
And the scoreboard is a good distance past even where Sammy hit that ball. Oh, look at Kenny Lofton. He can't believe how far it went. They said that Clemente's ball may have hit the scoreboard, but it was off to the left of it. You see the distance between where Sammy hit it and where that scoreboard is. That's a long ways.
Shot into right field, a base hit for Ivan Rodriguez.
What else is new? Pudge went the other way and got another base hit.
Well, don't forget the Marlins fell behind in the game last night, 4-0 at the end of 1. When they came to bat in the 3rd inning, they had 1 on, 1 out, and scored 5 runs. There's 1 on, 1 out, 3rd inning of game 2.
However, Mark Pryor is on the bump, the mound.
Breaking ball, strike 1 to Derek Lee. Pryor, an 18-game winner, as we mentioned, during the regular season, had a 2.4 ERA. Opponents hit .231 against him. He only allowed 15 home runs. Jan Lee with that pitch. 2 away.
We talked about this exact scenario in the opening of this show and comparing it to last night's ball game. Al, you said you don't think Pryor's going to spit it back up if he gets an early lead like he has right now. And Josh Beckett for the Marlins in yesterday's ball game totally rediscovered himself, settled down, and reinvented himself as a pitcher on the mound and did the job. We have not seen Brad Penny showing us any signs that he's going to do that so far.
Miguel Cabrera had a pretty good at bat his first time up. The end result not what he had in mind. On 8-pitch at bat, he wound up striking out.
For Pryor, when you're up by this amount, you want to make sure you establish getting ahead and put the ball in play. You don't want to walk guys. You want to be basically crisp enough where the defense is on their toes and not their heels. And the Marlin lineup has to look at it as though it's not a 5-run deficit. You have to do what Pudge did by staying on the ball, still playing small ball in the sense that you're trying to go to right center and up the middle. Can't hit a 5-run homer.
47th pitch of the game for Pryor. 1-2 to Cabrera. Breaking ball, grounded foul. That's the old adage about peck away. Just peck away. You get 1 here, maybe you get 2 the next inning. Then you're a walk and a bomb away from tying it up.
What's he do right here, Al? He's got him 1-2. He threw on the breaking ball right there. It wasn't his good one, the big sweeping one that goes away and actually ends up out of the strike zone. Or does he just buzz him with a high fastball here?
That's what I would do. I would see how aggressive he is. And again, in the instant of being down 5 runs, I'd elevate with a high fastball. Curveball.
There's the big sweeper. He usually gets people to swing at that pitch. This kid, Cabrera, has shown us a great job. You mentioned it last at-bat, how unaggressive he was. Once he got to 2 strikes, he was a much better hitter, doing the same thing in this at-bat. That's a tough pitch to lay off.
He shortens his stroke, and he's going up the middle, preferably right center.
Into right field, a sinking liner caught by Sammy, and that'll end the inning. One hit, one man left. We head for the last of the third, and the Cubbies out in front by 5. Cubs leading Brad Penny and the Marlins in Game 2 of this National League Championship Series, 5-0. 2 runs in the opening inning on a bases loaded 2-out 2-run single by Randall Simon. A 1-out RBI single in the second by Lofton, and then a monster home run to straightaway center field off the bat of Sammy Sosa.
For as disappointed as Brad Penny is right now, obviously be down by 5 in the third, he has to get back to making his pitches and realizing the deeper he goes into the game will help and save his bullpen for the rest of the series.
Boy, now you know how important that is. I mean, these series can turn into lengthy, grueling, taxing series on bullpens especially.
Well, with the off day tomorrow, that's going to help him better. Being ahead 2 innings yesterday with 28 pitches, and Fox threw an inning and 2/3 with 33 pitches.
Two and two. That's why it is so critical as Nate Bump now will begin to throw in the Marlin bullpen. To have your big guns deliver big-time games and pitch deep into games. I mean, who could forget the greatest pitching performance by a team in the history of baseball during World Series play occurred 2 years ago. The top 2 of Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson. Both of those guys going 7, 8, 9. And the Cubs are banking on the same thing from Pryor and Wood.
That was a hanging curveball, but sometimes a hanging curveball could be good in the sense that it's so high, the hitter sees it as a real juicy pitch to hit, and it stays high enough where they can't get the bat head on it.
2-2. Overthrew a fastball there. Full count.
Its release point, it's around the curveball a little bit, which is okay so long as you're finish it. To me, that's just an overthrown curveball. Brad is trying to throw it 100 miles an hour as opposed to letting the grip do the work.
That one launched deep into the night as well off the bat of Ramirez. It is 6-0 Chicago.
Tommy, it's going to be a long, long night, or quite possibly a short night for Brad Penny if he's going to challenge guys like Sosa, Alou, and Ramirez with that pitch.
And stress that pitch.
Fastball
okay.
down Broadway, not in that location.
Hooked into right field by Simon.
First pitch swinging.
Good curveball, went down and got it.
Long night and a very short night at the same time for Brad Penny. He does not survive the third inning. Nate Bump will come on from the bullpen. All Chicago so far in Game 2. D to the Steel City. 3 former Pirates at the beginning of the year in the lineup in October for the Cubs here tonight as Nate Bump takes over on the mound. He was not on the division series roster, and the rookie right-hander comes in trailing 6-0. Bump came over from the Giants in exchange for Livan Hernandez in 1999, a former #1 pick by the San Francisco Giants.
This is an unusual move, in my opinion, Tom, to see the pitching change this quickly. Penny doesn't have it. There's no question about that. But you're either going to see Nate Bump and Tahara go out there and throw about 4 or 5 innings in this, or you're going to see him use everybody 1 or 1 1/3 inning. Because, in my opinion, you're not coming back to win this game against Pryor. So you either leave Penny out there or you better do one of two things. Use two guys that you're not planning to use the rest of this series. Nate Bump may be one of those guys. Or you throw everyone you have for one inning, because you cannot burn up your bullpen whether you have tomorrow off or not.
See, Boston has jumped in front of the Yankees 2-0. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. Game 1 of that American League Championship Series. And Boston, after being dominated by the Yanks the last number of years during the regular season, gave New York everything it wanted and then some this year.
Yes. Now, what is he going to do here, do you think, as far as what his bullpen's concerned now? Does that guy stay out there and throw 3 innings?
No, I think he's going to go 1-1-1 with Pavano, Helling,
Johnny Holstaff. Everybody's going to get a chance.
Tahara. You're right. With the 1 day off, it's not that much, especially if you end up, if they start really continue to hit, you're going to pull a couple more guys and they throw too many pitches. Now it affects Friday. But you still have 4 guys that haven't thrown. He's hoping he can get basically 1-1-1-1 out of it.
Well, that looked like a pretty good breaking ball right there, and Pudge held it to give Chuck Merriweather another look.
It's a curveball that, well, I like it.
That might have even fooled Pudge a little bit. Watch him go up and then back down to his knees to get it.
Popped up, foul territory, and out of play. Still 3-2 on Alex Gonzalez. The Cubs with an early 6-0 lead. This Cub team had a hard time scoring runs during the regular season. They averaged just at 4.5 runs per game. And here in the first 2 games of this league championship series, flexing their muscles. 14 runs in 13 innings. Three-2 again. And a ground ball should be 2. Look at Gonzalez to Castillo. How about that? And they call the runner safe at first. While we have a moment, let's send it to Los Angeles. Here's Jeannie Zolasco.
Well, I know you saw the score from New York, so I'll stop the agony. And so did David Ortiz, 2 for 21 in his postseason coming into this at-bat. And he's bringing Manny Ramirez home with him, a 2-run shot. It's 2-0 Red Sox top 4.
When was the last time we were watching baseball on a night in October where both the Cubs and the Boston Red Sox led a series, led a game,
or even playing?
On the outside corner, a strike.
Take another look at the tremendous defense by Gonzalez. Look at the flip with his glove to Castillo. Castillo with his back to the play. Boy, that was a closer play at first than it looked at first. That could have been a bang-bang double play.
Low and away to Baco. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Plays like that are the reason why the Florida Marlins are in the NLCS. Great defense, especially up the middle, will always keep you in the games and also make a pitching staff better.
Many have said this is the best defense up the middle of any team in Major League history. Some have made that argument.
Who's arguing?
You know, you go back to the days, for example, of the Big Red Machine, and some might say that they had Cesar Geronimo in center field, who won 6 straight Gold Gloves. They had Davey Concepcion, who won almost 10 Gold Gloves at short. Joe Morgan, a multi-Gold Glove winning second baseman, and the greatest defensive catcher to ever play, in my opinion, Johnny Bench. In the air, left center field, hit pretty well, and off the ivy. Rounding third and coming home is Gonzalez on a double by Paul Baco. Nothing Cubbies.
Fastball down and away. Baco just going right with it, dropping the bat head through the zone and letting this summer night, for the way it feels, let that ball just drift into the gap and keep going and going. Boy, nobody as far as Cub fans are concerned, can probably remember a night like this in October that feels like the summertime. Usually it's bitter cold and the wind blowing in by now.
Strike called to Mark Pryor, all 7 runs. Charge to Brad Penny in his 2+ innings. Hit down the right field line and out of play. 0-2 to Pryor.
Well, Tommy, if you said that in your era of baseball, the best player that sits behind the plate is Johnny Bench, then the second best is the kid that's sitting behind the plate right now.
Yep. And some would say that Rodriguez is the better defender between the two.
10 Gold Gloves. The only guy, in my opinion, in the game today that can change the game defensively. There are very few guys that change baseball games when they don't have a bat in their hand. He's one of them. Take your running game and put it in your back pocket.
You see Rodriguez tied with those 10 straight Gold Gloves with the aforementioned Johnny Bench.
Talking about the defense up the middle, of course, catcher being that part of that scenario, it makes the pitching staff better because you don't worry about so much the runners on base, even if they're green runners that steal a lot and can get good jumps. When you got a catcher like that behind home plate, go ahead, run.
Slow roller by the mound. Castillo throws out Pryor. 2 away, and Baco on to third. We invite you to play Hit the Pros, presented by Chevy Silverado, and face real pitches from today's best hurlers. Log on to foxsports.com, keyword games, Chevy Silverado. It's the right truck. Get a look at the Windy City. What a spectacular city it is. Mark Pryor with a 7-run cushion, and we're just in the last of the 3rd inning. Strike 1 to Kenny Lofton. If you're wondering, only twice this year has Mark Pryor had a game where he allowed 6 runs or more. Against the Houston Astros on May the 23rd, allowed 7 runs in 6 2/3 innings. And against Atlanta on the 11th of July, that was the game he had the collision with Marcus Giles, gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. Base hit left field. Pryor has not allowed 8 runs in a game, and it's 8-0 Chicago.
Same thing. Kenny Lofton, outside corner. Let me just slap it into left. Same thing that Baco did. All we're doing right now is hitting the ball where you're pitching it.
Especially with 2 strikes.
Shorten down, hit the other way.
Gonzalez is singled and grounded out to Castillo at second base. That one comes all the way to the backstop, and Lofton will advance on to second.
Pudge kind of came up on that one. We'll rarely see him do that, but it was a fastball. Toughest ball to defend is a fastball in the dirt because you don't expect it to be there.
Well, he stayed down on one last night in a critical part of the ball game. You wonder if an inning like this is just kind of getting his mind off the situation and being a little frustrated because he didn't stay down on that.
Get me out of the way.
Drop to their knees, collapse, turn your shoulders in like a shell of a turtle.
1-2 on Gonzalez. Late bump on in relief of Brad Penny. who had his second straight disappointing postseason start here tonight. Swing and a miss, and that will end the inning. But not before the Cubs get 2 in the first, 3 in the second, and they tack on 3 more here in the third. Navy Painters fans, they'll work for you. By Chevy Silverado, it's the right truck. And by America Online, look for 9.0 optimized coming this fall. Sellout crowd, Wrigley Field in Chicago. Game 2 of this National League Championship Series. The Florida Marlins won the opener in 11 innings last night, 9-8. And Mark Pryor going to work. Encarnacion, Conine, and Gonzalez due up for the Marlins. But something that Steve and Al were talking about a moment ago, the pitcher spotters due up 4th in this inning. Rick Helling starting to get loose just in case that spot comes up. And then they'll figure to bring Helling in maybe for an inning or 2. 1 and 2 on Encarnacion. If we don't get to that spot, perhaps Bump stays in for Jack McKeon.
I think with Rick warming up right now, you don't want to have him just warm up just to warm up. He's coming in the game.
Fisted behind the plate, and Baco's got it. Pryor has allowed 4 hits in the game. He has been sensational this season. Perhaps even the Cy Young Award winner. We asked his manager about his young star.
And each time he goes out there and each time he succeeds, it's going to make it better for the next time. And he's a guy that's constantly learning. He asks great questions. He learns by his mistakes. He learns by his his good games. He asks questions of other pitchers, of other guys, and he's a student of the game, a very astute person.
Dusty Baker was asked a question before the game today. With all of the great teams that he played for, most notably those World Series teams with the Dodgers and all the great pitching in the storied Dodger franchise history, had he ever seen a pitcher on quite the role that Pryor has been on, especially since coming back from the DL? He said the only guy would have been the entire rookie year of Fernando Valenzuela.
That was a role.
Yes, it was.
At about 19 years old.
And Dwight Gooden.
Only difference about the Gooden situation, of course, Dusty wasn't around to see every game. Lined into right center field, and that ball will sail over the head of Kenny Lofton and go to the ivy. And Conine on his way to second base with a 1-out double. Now, granted, it is 8-0 here, but there is a long, long way to go in this game. We're only in the 4th.
That ball fooled Kenny Lofton. He had a great jump on it, but he took a bad route towards it. Went straight to his left instead of angling towards the wall into right center field, and the ball got by him. I think that ball was hit just a little bit harder than Kenny Lofton was. Conine got a little bit more juice on it to the opposite field than Kenny Lofton thought he could.
Conine 2 for 2. Great piece of hitting there. Again, staying on the ball and giving the up-the-middle right center approach.
Now Alex Gonzalez a batter. You look up on the scoreboard and it says 8-0 Cubs. It's fouled out of play. But you go back to that Marlins second inning after the Cubs had taken a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the first. The Marlins got a leadoff double by Encarnacion. He went to third on a single with Conine. They were on the corners with nobody out. But Pryor was able to strike out Gonzalez, strike out Penny, and got Pierre on a pop-up to end the inning. The Cubs got 3 in the bottom of the same inning. Rolled over down to third. 2 away. For a game break, let's send it back to Los Angeles. Here's Jeannie Zelasco.
And we have contact in the Bronx, courtesy Bernie Williams. Is it long enough? Is it deep enough? Well, not so much. Bernie tried to put the Yankees on the board, but he's boxing up 2-zip top 5.
Hitting that knuckleball. Hey, if you're on as a knuckleballer, I mean, that's why That's why knuckleballers seem to go like 15 and 15 every year. When they're on, you can't hit them. When they're off, you launch them.
Now to batter Brian Banks. Coming up there to pinch hit for Nate Bump. Swing and a miss to the switch hitting Brian Banks. Banks' only division series at bats came as a pinch hitter. Flied out both occasions, made 29 starts during the regular year. He pinch hit 53 times this season for the Marlins. Oh, and 2 to Banks. Inside. One and 2 to Banks. In the air, straight away center field. Lofton backpedaling, and that is had against Pryor in the 4th. 1 hit, 1 left. Sammy will lead things off in the 4th inning. He's already homered in each of the first 2 games of this LCS.
Fox.
Sammy Sosa to lead things off here in the Cubs' 4th inning against the new Marlin right-hander Rick Helling. Helling began the year in the Baltimore Orioles starting rotation, and Florida able to pick him up late in the season. Sammy Sosa, one of the longest home runs we understand that has ever been hit in this ballpark back in the 3rd inning.
Sammy hit a gutter ball. This thing landed in the gutter of that little camera house out there and then bounced back up onto the roof.
Well, Ozzie Guillen kind enough to wear a microphone for us tonight, the Marlin third base coach. And while Ozzie doesn't play here very often, he knows this ballpark.
That ball, Sammy hit that ball last night. That ball cleared that tree over there. When that ball hit that thing.
Said if it had hit that one last night, it would have cleared the tree out behind the center field wall. That tree. That's a long ways. The wind blowing out last night, the way the ball was jumping out of here last night, he might be right.
3-2 pitch. On the ground to Gonzalez. And Sosa retired for the first time tonight after a walk in a 2-run homer.
If you're going to give him up, give him up. I'd rather have that than for it to fall in that net down the line. The screen.
A couple of those happened last night. What do you don't like it when they scrape the paint off the back of the fence as they're leaving the ballpark?
No, I would take that over hitting into that screen any day. Cheapy.
The basket. Oh, come on. There's no such thing as a cheapie.
I know.
If it lands on the other side of the fence.
Low and away to Moises Alou, ball 1.
They all count.
Helling pitched very well for the Marlins after coming over. The ball popped up into short right field, and Encarnacion will call off Castillo 2 away. While we have a moment, let's again send it to Los Angeles. Here's Jeannie Salasco.
Let's see, full moon, Yankees, Red Sox. You know we'd have trouble. Todd Walker sends one into the night, and it stays of Jeffrey Mayer. Yes, first it was ruled foul, but upon closer look, as Tim McClellan overrules Angel Hernandez, well, the fan touched it, and it would have hit the pole. Home run. Sox up 3-0.
Popped up down the right field line. Encarnacion over near the stands, out of play on 1 to Aramis Ramirez.
Now you see the difference there when we had that play earlier in the game where Paul Bacco tried to catch the foul ball. The Cubs fans, I'm assuming they were Cubs fans, didn't let him do it. But you see there in Yankee Stadium, the Yankee fan reached out and grabbed the ball so that it wouldn't hit the foul ball.
Right.
Almost stole a home run
Bring
from the
it
Red
back.
Sox. There you go.
On the the ground is short, and a solid inning for Rick Helling out of the Florida bullpen. Throw a little high, but Lee able to go up and get it. First scoreless inning tonight for the Cubs. They lead 8-0. We're back to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station. League Championship Series. Top of the order due up for the Marlins. It'll be Pierre, Castillo, and Rodriguez. Ball 1 to Juan Pierre. 0 for 2. Was grounded to second and popped to second. Trying to bunt his way aboard. 1-1. Juan Pierre was born in Mobile, Alabama, but grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana, and a freestyle rapper in his spare time. I got to tell you, though, you could travel all around and go to every single baseball clubhouse in the big leagues today, and I am not sure that you will meet a sweeter kid in the world than Juan Pierre. Hooks it to the right side, one away, and again, let's check in with Jeannie Zelasco.
Hey, kids, it's me again. Man, oh, Manny, no controversy with this one because this one's gone. 2 home runs in the 5th inning off Mike Mussina. The Red Sox on the board, 4-0, bottom 5.
Ball 1 inside to Luis Castillo.
Just to watch Pryor still pitching. He throws a changeup here, down and away on an 0-2 pitch. Continuing to pitch and use all of his pitches. Very important. Even though it looks like it's a blowout, he has to continue to pitch.
Best time for him to use his changeup as well because he rarely uses it. Dusty Baker said he's got a good one, but almost never uses it. People ask him why if it's so good. He says, because he doesn't have to.
Grounded to short, 2 away.
And this is a great game for him to work on a pitch that he might not feel comfortable with. Yep. Especially if there is a need for him to come back in game 6.
Kerry Wood would get the ball against Mark Redmond. That game will be on Friday night at Pro Player Stadium in Miami. And then on Saturday, it will be game 4 of this series, Sunday as well, and then should there be any games thereafter, we come back here to Chicago Tuesday night. 1-1.
You can't predict the future, but I cannot imagine that this series would not come back to Chicago. Neither one of these teams is going to be rolling over.
Al, you feel the same way, going beyond the 3 games over the weekend in Florida?
Absolutely. I see both teams with their strengths and weaknesses in different areas. The Marlins could beat you in so many different ways, and you had mentioned and with the Arizona Diamondbacks world champions with those 2 big guns, you have Pryor and Wood. So far, Pryor is doing what he's supposed to.
Wood in game 3, Dontrell Willis for the Marlins will go in game 4. Dontrell Willis, one of the guys clearly recognized as a Rookie of the Year candidate, almost been a forgotten guy in the first part of this series because he hasn't had the chance to start and won't until game 4. Struggled a little bit down the stretch.
Lined hard, a one-hopper at Gresolano, and that will end the inning. And don't forget about Dontrell Willis. You know where he started his career? In the Chicago Cubs organization. By Jack McKeon after the Cubs scored 8 times in the first 3 innings. Helling with a perfect 4th inning. Randall Simon 2 for 2, now 6 hits in 14 postseason at bats. Now, Steve, we were talking before the game. Eric Karros had a solid division series against Atlanta, and he figures to be in the lineup with the back-to-back lefties on the mound for the Marlins starting Friday. Slapped into left field. It'll go to the wall. And Randall Simon saying, well, wait a minute now, guys.
Maybe not.
Don't get me out of there quite yet.
You just love the way Randall Simon goes up there and slashes. Conine's going to stop to have some beer on his way to picking that ball up. Maybe next time he can actually drink some of it.
Welcome to Wrigley.
Oh, yeah. Down in the corner. And that guy, well, that's not the guy. He's just waving a hat. Someone else fired the beer down at him. It's not nice.
Not nice. Whoever it is, they ought to run him out of here right now. No questions asked.
And that's what they're doing. The umpire is describing to one of the ushers who did it.
Every time I see that, Steve, the first thing I think of is, if that guy has a job to begin with, the next time he goes to work tomorrow, I'm sure he'd really be excited about showing up in the office and somebody just walking up to him and dumping a beer on his head.
People don't think that way at a ball game, do they?
Popped up down the right field line. And out of play.
I don't understand it, just because they're about, what, $6? And tasty in this ballpark. Why waste it?
Fastball in, 1-1 to Alex Gonzalez. Of course, we have a pair of Alex Gonzalez at shortstop for these two teams. Same height, same weight, 4-year spread in age. Seabass and Gonza.
Seabass. Big fisherman. In a game like this, it's difficult to come in and stop the bleeding. Down by a lot, Rick Helling is doing just that. He's pitching, he's using all of his pitches. Always thought about Rick Helling as a guy who's got a great delivery and smooth, easy cheese. He's got nice fastball come out of his hand.
Breaking ball, it gets away from Rodriguez. It'll come back to the screen. And on to third base goes Randall Simon. Of course, Helling and Pudge were together many years in Texas.
It's a slider. I don't know if Pudge got down or not. No, he just kind of stabbed at it. You wonder if in a game like this, being down by 8 runs, should scoot out there and drop to his knees.
Well, that was scored a wild pitch. That looked more like a pass ball.
The second time we've seen Pudge have a little mishap behind the plate. Rarely do you see it. You're talking about Helling and his easy cheese. I mean, this guy's a 20-game winner back in 1998 for the Texas Rangers. The guy can pitch.
Down the left field line. Is it fair or is it foul? Fair ball, home run. Alex Gonzalez has hit his second home run of his league championship series. And the lead swells to double digits. 10-0 Chicago.
That's the kind of home run ball where you don't even have to look at the umpire to see if it's fair or foul. Just watch the fans down the left field line. They're going to tell you. Look at the crowd outside the stadium.
World's largest scrum.
Come out of there with a black eye and a bleeding lip, but the ball.
Of course, the difference between Chicago and San Francisco, there would be a lawsuit in the Bay Area that would take months. Here in Chicago, they'll broker a deal and everybody wins.
And if you hit it to right field, you'd get wet chasing it.
And maybe even Steve Lyons would go into the San Francisco Bay to get it. You've been there before.
Once too many. There's the guy that won it. Got his ripped shirt. Wow, those guys, now they're having fun. They haven't had a chance to do that very often in this city in October.
1-2 to Paul Bacco. Down the left field line. Conine giving chase, and he couldn't get it. Close to the wall. Foul ball, and Bacco will come back to the plate.
Gonzalez last night went away with a fastball to go right field. He pulls his hands in. It's a 3-2 pitch, fastball in, but he still was able to pull his hands in. And for him to hit the ball as far as he did, that's a good piece of hitting. Gonz at the end of the year was swinging at a lot of balls, which usually puts a guy in a slump. So far, he's having a heck of a series.
A lot of times, a pitcher can speed up the bat head of a hitter by throwing that ball in there. Forces the guy's hands to get quicker. You pull the bat head through, gives you a lot more power on a pitch like that if you get to it. You see a lot of guys jam trying to, but if you get to that pitch, you see how you can launch it, and that's what Gonzo did.
I just wanted to make sure you guys are making sure you got the nickname right there, Gonzo.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't want you to slip in a Seabass.
That's Seabass is out there catching everything at short. Yeah, see that? That's Seabass right there.
Gonzo's not really original, right? Isn't that pretty much generic for Gonzalez?
Universal, absolutely.
We got to come up with something else.
Got 2 home runs in this series. How about Long Tom?
Ball 4 high and away. Well, 3 straight batters that we saw telling here in the Cubs' 5th inning. Now Mark Pryor with a 10-0 lead will bat. Only one time in postseason history has a team come from behind down 8 runs in a game. Now we're at 10.
Let me take a guess at that.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking 29 World Series.
Go ahead.
I'm right so far?
You're right so far. Do you remember the teams?
I remember one of the teams was the Philadelphia A's.
Okay.
I believe they were the team that came back in Game 4 of that World Series. They were getting beat 8-0. They came back and won that game and eventually won the World Series against which team, Tom? The Chicago Cubs.
How about that? Al, are you impressed?
Don't be digging around in my brain for the wealth of knowledge that I have stored up there.
We use the phrase often, but never has it been more appropriate than right now. That was big league.
Daddy Wags told me the inning before.
See, they had us impressed. Jam shot bunt back to Lee. And he'll just take the out behind him.
But I can tell you this, I know Daddy Wags, our stat master, didn't have to go on his computer to know that. He knew it.
Try to throw a high fastball, your best fastball, preferably on the air part of the plate. Well, Pryor shouldn't have even gone after that. But generally, you either get a pop-up or you hard off the bat, double play.
He's done a great job.
That was almost just to get out of the way. Yeah. Hope it doesn't hit me in the face. Still got it done.
Bunt.
Kenny Lofton, a couple of hits, a couple of runs batted in, has scored a run, stolen a base. Runner at second here in the last of the 5th inning. And the Cubs looking mighty good to even this series at a game apiece.
You know, Tom, this has become a blowout. You throw up 3 spots for the Cubs in both the 2nd and 3rd inning. But it's been a respectful game, and I think that's why we haven't seen a lot of pitches up and in on guys, no knockdown pitches. A game like this that can get out of hand, sometimes guys say, you know what, I'm going to drill somebody.
Larry Rothschild, my old pitching coach with the Marlins, great guy. He takes his whole staff as though they're his children, and he's always backing up for them.
What do you say if you're Larry Rothschild? I mean, what is he saying to Mark Pryor besides, hey, big fella, you're up 10-0?
Well, he's probably telling, look, you have 69 pitches. You can stay in this game long enough to get most of your work in and not tax your arm. But mainly just to keep his mind where it should be. Keep throwing up those zeros. Don't let him come into it at all.
He might have said you're getting ready to go ahead 11-0, but they're going to hold the runner at third on the base hit to right field by Lofton, his 3rd hit of the game.
Larry Rothschild's a big mental guy, mind guy, and he's all about making sure that the pitching staff as a whole is thinking the right thing. Don't fill your mind with negative thoughts. And in this game, it's easy to lose the focus on executing quality pitches. I don't care if it's 10-0 or not. You do not pitch to the scoreboard. That's what he's telling them.
Here's a question. You wonder, as Dusty Baker took over this ball club, Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach, was the only coach that he inherited. It was not his pick. You wonder, without a contract for next season, does Rothschild come back?
Well, we know one thing. If for some strange reason he's not back, he will not be unemployed very long.
You got that. As you mentioned, pitching coach on that '97 World Championship team for the Marlins.
That is a fair ball off the bat of Gonzalez. Scoring is Baco. Lofton on his way to third on a run-scoring double by Gonzalez. His second RBI in this league championship series.
Take a look at this ball right here. How many umpires all over this call? On the left side of the chalk, but you see the ball hit the grass, and you can see the white grass fly up into the air. Larry Poncino down the left field line. Mike Everett, the third base umpire, both of them right on it, and they don't want to pitch to Sammy anymore.
Well, you have runners at second and third and a base open. They'll try to set up a double play ball and get out of this fifth.
Some people might be saying, hey, with the score the way it is right now, why walk the guy? But hey, the game isn't over. You continue to manage like you have a chance. Weirder things have happened. Look how quickly they put up this scoreboard. And I just talked about the respect of the game. If Sammy takes him deep again, maybe this game gets out of hand, and maybe it gets a little ugly after that, and no one wants to see that happen.
Well, especially if you ran the count, say Helling fell behind at 3-0, and then all of a sudden you give Sosa the green light up 11-0, and he hammers one out on the Waveland Avenue.
I'll tell you who does have the green light, though. The guy at the plate right now, and he's one guy that wants to get into this home run act. You've seen a few other guys do it.
First pitch off speed.
Breaking ball, strike one.
It's a good pitch.
Every first pitch to Moises has been an off-speed pitch in every at-bat in this game.
Alou, a pair of career grand slams. Comebacker to the mound, knocked down by Helling. He'll throw to Pudge for the forced play at the plate. 2 away in the inning.
Also, too, getting back to that, even though it looks like a blowout, and yes, you don't want it to get out of the hand if you're the Marlins, but there's a guy on the hill right now that cares about what he's doing. And even though the scorer will say that it looks like the Marlins are going to lose this game, you got to put him in position to feel good about what he's doing. Setting up the double play and having to force it every base.
And Helling, a very proud man. I mean, this guy has had a solid big league career. Steve, you mentioned earlier a former 20-game winner, a former #1 starter in that Ranger rotation that was eliminated in the opening round on 3 separate occasions in the American League Division Series. And he knows he's out there to take one for the team, if you will. There's nobody else getting loose. And this happens frequently during the regular season, infrequently in the postseason. So they walk Sosa. He got the ground ball for the second out, fly ball for the third out, and we march on to the 6th inning. Fireworks for the Cubbies here tonight. Wrigley Field in Chicago. Game 2 of this National League Championship Series. The Cubbies scout the Atlanta Braves, and they're trying to fillet these Florida Marlins. Marlins got away with a thrilling victory here last night, 9-8 in 11. But in Game 2, it's 11 runs in favor of the Cubs.
Boy, if they scalp the Braves and they're trying to fry the fish, what do you do when you get to the World Series if you're playing either the Yankees or the Red Sox? You're going to have to work on that.
In the air, hit pretty well to deep left center field off the bat of Derek Lee, and the Marlins are on the board. Lee, his first postseason home run after hitting 31 home runs during the regular year. And Derek thrilled this game is being played at Wrigley Field because he's going to get that ball back if it's the same ball.
Oh, yeah, they like to play the old switcheroo out there in the left field seats. One of the first hanging pitches we've seen.
It's a 1-1 hanger. In games with runs the way it is right now, out of line the way it is, well, Cabrera just wanted the first pitch, but I wonder if it's coming from the bench. Derek Lee took a fastball right down the middle. Pryor came back with a good curveball in the dirt. You wonder if Mark's thinking, I'm just going to throw a get-me-over curveball to just get back in the count. That's exactly what it was. Derek Lee put it in the seats.
Pulled foul down at third base line. Oh, and 2 to count on Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera struck out ending the first inning, leaving 2 men on, and then lined out hard to Sosa in right to end the third.
Thank goodness for the screens that are up in front of the dugouts here. The dugouts in Wrigley are so close to home plate. And that was just a bullet hit in that area. Without those screens, somebody might be missing a few teeth. Look at the relationship between home plate and that screen right there. Very, very close.
This at bat, he's fighting the ball off. The ball away, outer half. He's trying to go to right center. He fights off a good fastball in the outside corner. The previous pitch was a fastball in. He rips it foul, pulls it. This guy's going to be a great, great player.
Rolled over foul, and it's still 1-2 on Miguel Cabrera, not giving away an at bat despite the fact that his team is down 11-1.
And by fighting the way he is, one, it makes it a difficult at bat for Pryor, but it's a pitch count situation. The more he throws pitches, obviously Dusty's going to have a decision make maybe a little sooner than he'd like.
His last 3 starts all over 130 pitches, between 130 and 133. You don't want him to have to go that long, but also Dusty doesn't want to have to use too many guys in the pen either.
That ball lifted and driven into deep right center field, and Cabrera has gone to the seats. Back-to-back home runs by Lee and Cabrera to begin this Marlins 6th inning. Boy, that is some kind of at bat.
Unbelievable. This guy, for 20 years old, he was in Double-A the first half of this season. That's great hitting. Fights off a lot of good pitches. This is a good pitch on the outside corner, and he goes with it. And to have the power to drive it out of the park.
Reaches for that pitch just a little bit, but he keeps his hands back in the at-bat, lets the ball get deep into the strike zone so that he has enough pop left in his swing to drive that ball that way. Now, Bill Robinson made some great comments while I was hanging around with him during batting practice. He says, you know, I hear so many times people talk about staying inside the ball, and he said, I don't like the saying. He said, when you stay inside the ball, I think what you do is you start to flip the ball into right field. I like stay behind the ball. Stay behind the ball, drive the ball the other way. You get backspin on a ball. You keep things fair. You don't see that slice, and you can drive the ball the other way. And I think he's right.
And that's exactly what that contact had right there. A lot of backspin to get out of here. Swing and a miss by Encarnacion, 1-2.
He says a lot of guys, when they have a concept of trying to stay inside the ball, they pull their hands in too much, they dip their back shoulder a little bit, and then they get the side spin where you start hitting flares the other way.
Swing and a miss.
And that type of hitter with that swing is very susceptible to the ball inside.
Strikeouts in the game now for Mark Pryor. And Jeff Conine, the batter, who is 2 for 2, is single to left, double to right center.
There is Bill Robinson right there, the hitting coach for the Marlins.
experience and a good solid baseball man. He has given a great deal to this game at various levels, not only at the major league level, but down through the minor leagues. He knows his craft.
Talked a lot about the coaching staffs on both sides. I think it's very important. I think sometimes organizations will discount the people that are around their manager. I found out firsthand how important it is when I played for the Braves in '92. I thought one of the best coaching staffs I was ever around, and it was no mistake why they've won 12 straight division championships. Now, some of those coaches have changed along the way.
To me, this pitch is a strike. Baco's setting up on the inside corner, but by throwing the ball away, he had to reach for it, but that still had plate coverage.
And slapped into left center field, a base hit for Conine, who is 3 for 3.
So in Pryor's mind, he goes from a strikeout to a single. And good for Jeff Conine.
Got Larry Rothschild out to talk to him. I misspoke before saying that Rothschild was not signed for next season. He is, in fact, signed for one more year after this year.
If not the best pitching coach, certainly one of the best. One of my favorites.
Why did you like him so much, Al?
Because he cares. He understands you. He knows us other than fastball, slider, curve. He understands you as a person. He knows your family, and he gets to know you. And with that relationship, there are the nuances that comes with a pitching coach having to teach pitching. And when you have a good relationship, you communicate at a different level. And at this level, it's all about communication.
We always enjoy very much having time to spend with Larry Rothschild. You're right, he's one of the game's real good guys. Mike Lowell now coming up to pinch hit. He had the game-winning home run here last night when he came to bat in the 11th against Mark Gufford and reached the basket in straightaway center. And this ball hammered into left field. Alou going back to get it. 2 away in the inning, and Conine retreating to first. Here comes the throw, and he's out. Conine thought that ball would sail over Alou's head. It turns into an inning-ending double play. In the game, he'll play third base, and moving from third over to short. Originally a shortstop when he first came up through the Marlins minor league system the last couple of years, Miguel Cabrera.
Seems like the natural position for him. His mother was the shortstop on the national softball team for 10 years in Venezuela.
And of course, Venezuela has produced some of the game's all-time great shortstops.
Is this going to be a Cincinnati reference by any chance?
Well, there's one of them, and then there's your old buddy Ozzie Guillen. Of course, it all began with Luis Aparicio over on the south side of town. Ozzie Guillen wears the number 13 because his idol growing up, the outstanding Cincinnati shortstop who should be in baseball's Hall of Fame, Davy Concepcion. Omar Vizquel, another Venezuelan.
Boy, you look at Cabrera, who stands 6'2". He's going to do nothing but get bigger and fill out. And with the pop he's shown in this series, and the fact that they love the way that, you know, Al, you've been talking about it for both games, the at-bats he throws at you. Alex Rodriguez's name comes to mind.
Check swing, they appeal, and Randall Simon didn't go around. 3-2.
I wonder, with this game being out of hand, is this a prelude to game 3 with Lowell, and how's he going to get Lowell in here? And what do you do with Gonzalez?
Now, if you take Gonzalez out of that lineup, you're taking away some serious defense.
It should be noted that Miguel Cabrera, as that one is rolled down to first, has not played shortstop since being brought up to the major leagues from Double-A Carolina. It's a very interesting point you bring up. I mean, let's face it, Steve, you make the great point about you're giving up some defense. if you take Gonzalez out. There's no debate about that. But Gonzalez, after an 0 for 3 game here tonight, is 1 for 24 in the postseason.
And Conine is having a heck of a series. He's 3 for 3 today. Mr. Marlin fan favorite.
And I think that Jack McKeon is worried about Mike Lowell. He says that he's not Mike Lowell yet. He hasn't had time to work back, and he's not looking good on a fastball. Well, that was a fastball that he just hammered to left field. Moises Alou made a great play of getting back as quickly as he could on it, made the play, and then double Conine off of first base. But I think McKeon wants to see if Lowell can hit a good fastball, and I think right there he proved that he can. We certainly see that he can hit a hang and split finger because he hit it into the seats last night to win a ball game for that club.
And you know what? At the same time, Jack McKeon also wants to get a look at the final 4 innings here of Miguel Cabrera at shortstop.
So what could be a negative could be turned out for a positive for McKeon.
These are the little subtle things that managers do, and obviously you rarely see them in a postseason game. But one of the reasons that I think so many who have been around baseball and spent time around McKeon like him and respect him so much. There's a little bit of new school about him, but a lot of old school. That ball to straightaway center field. Pierre at the wall. Good fire.
The kid is on fire.
Second home run tonight. Third home run in this league championship series for Alex Gonzalez.
We talked about that front shoulder staying in. That pitch is away from him. He drove it dead center.
It wasn't where Helling wanted it. It was a slider. It was more outer half. And with what Gonzalez is doing, staying on the ball, it wasn't a great location for a slide. He wanted further out.
Got to get that off the plate, get him to swing through it. There's the pitch you talk about. This just kind of not really a backup slider, just nothing to it.
Just didn't get it out far enough.
That is the 4th home run in the last 3 games for the Cubs shortstop, who during the regular year hit a career high 20 home runs. One and 2 on Baco.
We talked about it with Jack McKeon too. If we're going to talk about the Alex Gonzalez's in these games, both of them had similar problems. Alex Gonzalez for the Florida Marlins had a career high 18 home runs, but had most of those in the first half. Sometimes if you're not a home run hitter, the worst thing you can do is hit a home run, because then you think you are one. Some of that happened to Alex Gonzalez of the Cubs as well. That's when he started pulling off, pulling that front shoulder out of there, trying to bail and wail. And what you do is maybe you occasionally hit a home run, but you hit a lot more weak ground balls to the third baseman and the shortstop, and your average goes through the floor.
Oh, look at that little angel. She's got a baseball and her best friend. Standing ovation again for Mark Pryor, who has been dazzling again in his 2nd postseason start at a complete game 2 hitter against the Atlanta Braves in the division series. Allowed 2 runs here tonight.
Pryor has 82 pitches in this game. He's used to throwing up around 130, but as we mentioned before, first time in his life over 200 innings. How long do you leave him out there?
Popped up short right field. Encarnacion to get it. Hold that thought. And we'll talk about that when Pryor gets the ball in the 7th. We're back to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station. Mark Pryor climbs the hill, top half of the 7th inning with a 10-run lead. Steve, you posed the question. 3 consecutive starts for Pryor, his final 2 in the regular year, and his first start in the postseason. where he went over 130 pitches. How long do you keep him in tonight with this big lead?
Well, at 89 pitches, obviously he's not going to finish the game. 94 pitches. So what I would do with Guthrie, not struggling, but gave up a homer to Chipper, gave up the home run last night to Lowell. This is a great opportunity to have a guy get in a game and feel good about himself.
2 Hoffer down to third. 1 pitch, 1 out. Get back to that in a moment. First, let's check in with Jeannie Zelasco.
Well, you remember Derek Jeter grabbing his shoulder. Was it Game 2 of the ALDS? You have to wonder if he's feeling the aches and pains above and beyond normal this time of year. Can't stop the Kevin Millar offering. Un-Jeter-esque. Can't stop Manny Ramirez from touching home. 5-0 Sox, bottom 7.
Wow, the Red Sox, surprise, surprise, leading Game 1. Now, get back to that point. It is a very interesting point and something that if you're a member of a team or a bullpen, it's very important.
It absolutely is. And this whole game is mental. And the reason why we go in slumps and pitchers don't get batters out is because you start thinking all the wrong thoughts. And as a result of that, you give up runs. And it's very important for a guy to feel good about himself. I think in this instance, if you could have Guthrie come out, finish the game, guys high-fiving him, going into Game 3, it's a good feeling.
Give him the ball for the 8th and the 9th?
No, I give him an inning. He's a 1 inning. He's a specialty guy. Give him an inning. Put a guy like that right now in a spot to succeed.
Because you're going to need him. At some point in time, you have to believe in this series to get a big out or 3 big outs.
No question about it. No doubt about it. Remlinger is definitely has done a good job. Farnsworth getting to Borowski. You're going to need Guthrie.
100th pitch of the night by Pryor is a roller by Pierre, still hustling here in the 7th inning.
Dave Veers is the guy who also did not get in the ball game the other night, who has struggled a little bit. It would be another example of that same thing, getting him in there. That good 95-mile-an-hour fastball, blow a few people away and go home happy.
Two down, Luis Castillo to batter. Oh, and 1. Castillo 0 for 2, walked back in the opening inning. We talked about it last night about getting to a starting pitcher, a good starting pitcher, early in the game. The Marlins had 2 on with 2 out in the first. They had 2 on with nobody out in the 2nd inning. And in neither inning could they break through against Pryor.
Well, it's the difference between when you're in trouble, do you make the pitch or don't you? And it all comes down to executing a pitch.
Line hard at Grzelcyk, and that will end the inning. We head for the bottom half of the 7th. All Cubbies here tonight. The League Championship Series on Fox, brought to you by Budweiser. Grab a cold, fresh Budweiser. It's game time. Sold out Wrigley Field in Chicago, and the Cubs in front. Game 2 of this National League Championship Series, 12-2. And taking over on the mound, a starter throughout the entire regular season, but has thrown the ball very well out of the Marlin bullpen here in the postseason, and Jack McKeon just bringing him in to get a little work here tonight. Carl Pavano. Mike Redmond takes over behind the plate. And Mike Mordecai remains in the game at second base. Lofton laces one into center. His 4th hit tonight.
Now, this is the opposite situation that you were talking about, Al Leiter. This is a guy who has been sharp for you. They finished the series early against the Giants. He doesn't pitch in Game 1. If he doesn't pitch today, you have the off day tomorrow. He may not have pitched for 5 days. You got to get him out there to keep him sharp.
It's a great point. Exactly. He's got hopefully low pitch count for this inning and the 8th.
Rick Helling gobbled up 3 innings, allowed 3 earned runs. Broken bat, foul ball out of play.
Wow, that is a classic get-off-me ball jam sandwich pitch that hit right off the knuckles of Gonzalez. Look out.
It's a two-seamer. You say, why would he swing at that? He gets the fastball. He recognizes it. Remember, you have about 0.4 tenths of a second to recognize the pitch and swing. By the ball moving in on him, it's too late to stop your swing.
He's already in the middle of his swing before that ball moves a good 8 inches in on his hands, and then you're in trouble.
That's great movement on Pavano's two-seam fastball.
Big-time Chicago Cubs offense in the first 2 games of this series. Now, they were a team that during the regular year they would have spurts of big-time offense, but by and large they were a team that would have a hard time scoring a lot of runs. We told you they averaged right at 4.5 runs per game. Little roller that'll stay fair. And Bresolonic retired.
We figured to see some pretty good pitching matchups in this series. A 9-8 ball game yesterday with a lot of runs being scored, at least by the Cubs in today's ball game. You know, you look at the starting pitching and all the starters that will start in this series, not one of them over the age of 30. Some young, talented arms on both sides. Now, you talked about it yesterday, Tommy, maybe the most talented of the group on that side, the Florida Marlins, A.J. Burnett, who got to this team because he was traded for Al Leiter.
Al Leiter. Ball one away to Sammy Sosa.
Who would have ever done that?
Boy, what a stinking trade that was. 1-0 to slamming Sammy, who had a 2-run home run back in the 2nd inning. You know, these are always interesting at bats here because as you get a look at his Sosa home run back into 2nd. Hit it a long way. Just ask Kenny and Brad.
Perfect timing.
I was just starting to say, again, it's a blowout game, but you can mark it down. There is going to be an at-bat in this series where Pavano is going to be facing Sosa, and right now Pavano and Sammy trying to set the tone for what may come later. Because Pavano will be leaned on heavily during this series in tight games.
Well, I would only slightly disagree, because I think for Pavano, absolutely that's true. For Sammy Sosa right now, he is thinking, I want to put another one into the seats.
I don't doubt that at all. I'm not arguing that with you.
He's saying, I'm going to take another one out of here.
Well, again, it gets back to neither the pitcher or the hitter should play to the scoreboard. It shouldn't matter. That's why a lot of times when you see a pitcher such as Pryor right now with a big lead, say throw a fastball, 2-0, 2-1, throw a fastball. You have to continue to pitch. And in an instant like this, you're right, Tom. Pavano still has to pitch and use all of his pitches because they're going to need them.
And he struck him out on a high fastball up and in. And Sammy took that swing like he wanted to hit one out on the Waveland Avenue.
Yeah, I think it's a different mindset. I mean, there are a few guys in the game of baseball. I played with one of them, Harold Baines, where if he had 3 hits and the score was 10-2, he wanted 4 hits. He didn't necessarily want to hit another ball out of the ballpark. That ball just thrown right by Sammy. But it's almost human nature in a game like this when you're blowing out the other team to say, why don't I just go up there and try to hit one into the seats? It might be fun just to swing from my heels all day long.
0-1 to Troy O'Leary. Major League Baseball is giving away World Series tickets for life and other great prizes. Winning hologram numbers will be announced during games 1 through 4 of the 2003 World Series on Fox. Visit your neighborhood Radio Shack store for your chance to win. Troy O'Leary, the pinch hitter, batting for Moises Alou. Popped up and playable for Mike Lowell. And that'll end the inning. So a good sharp inning by Pavano. Is Mark Pryor coming back out there? It looks like he is, with a 10-run lead in the 8th inning.
Program in the first, $4.
That's out beyond the left field wall here at Wrigley Field on the other side of Waveland Avenue. That is amazing. That crowd gathered out there and left. Mike Redmond to lead things off. And it's in there a strike.
They just want to be close to the game, Tom. They can't even see it. They just want to feel the action. And some of those guys want to feel a little bit more of it than others.
Troy O'Leary remains in the game. And Mike Redmond takes from Mark Pryor on the outside corner, strike 2.
And what you're seeing in this game right now with O'Leary going into left field, Redmond coming in to getting at bat, as you see Mike Lowell on the bench. Seeing both of these managers getting a couple guys into the ball game that may not see action. If we saw a 5 or 6 game series with all tight games. Dave Veer's now up throwing. A couple guys that get a chance to get into these games where, you know, 5 years from now you're sitting around on your couch and you're saying, yeah, I played for the Cubs in 2003 when we had a great playoffs, but I didn't get in any games. That's unfortunate. You know, it's great to take the opportunity to get these guys in.
Not only that, there may come a time during this series that they're going to need a big hit from O'Leary or Redmond or whoever else. This is a great opportunity to get your bench guys an at bat.
Saw Tejera getting loose down in the Marlin bullpen. We did not see him in the game last night. 3-2 the count on Redmond, leading off the 8th inning.
Pryor definitely wanted this. This looked like a knee-high fastball. It was certainly down the middle. I don't know whether it was high enough.
That is now 112 pitches in this game for Mark Pryor. We gave you the note a little bit earlier that Pryor averages more starts or more pitches per start than any pitcher in the league. 113. The next pitch will be number 113.
I put Dave Veers in this game as soon as he's ready to go.
I'm not big on pitch counts. Once you get rolling, he's a strong kid. He's big, thick legs. It doesn't matter.
There's ball 4 away. While we have a moment, let's again send it back to Los Angeles and Jeannie Velasco.
And hold on, because here come the Yankees. Tim Wakefield tossed 8 out of 9 balls. He's out. Enter Alan Embry. 1 hit for Sotomix, the most of it as he doubles in a run. But wait, there's more. Ducky Matsui gets a bat in his hand, and the sac fly would be good for another run. Yankees on the board, 5-2 bottom 7.
Here it's 12-2 Cubs in game 2 of this National League Championship Series. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Now, you said you're not a big pitch count guy, but let me ask you this. You are a guy like Pryor who could throw a ton of pitches in a start. There are some guys that can do it, a lot more that can't. But we gave the numbers in Pryor's last 3 starts coming into this game here tonight. 131, 133, 133.
Well,
now you're knocking on the door at 120. I mean, is there a point in time? And is there a point in time where, after so many pitches over a few number of starts, enough is enough? On the ground to Gonzalez. Good play, but the ball dropped over at first by Simon, and the Marlins have 2 on with nobody out here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, there is a number where it gets to a high enough number where you have to have concern. I have a problem with managers when it gets to the 100 pitch count. They automatically get somebody up. You have to know your pitcher. It's late in the season. Potentially, through Dusty's eyes, this could be his last start. Can't assume anything.
And he's going to let him leave to a standing ovation at Wrigley Field.
Yourself. And you know what? Sometimes And you just said it. Sometimes a pitcher, I think, will graciously take the loss to know that he was the one that did it. I'm going to win it. I'm going to lose it. I'm your guy.
That's the way I felt.
Well, both of you must have had the crystal ball back in your hotel rooms earlier today. Steve, you talked about Mark Pryor before the first pitch, that this was to be the biggest start of his life and to go out and prove what kind of big-time pitcher he is. That he did. Now, later you said if Brad Penny comes out there and falls behind a couple of runs like Josh Beckett did last night with a guy like Pryor on the mound, you could be done.
It's playing out that way.
Now, I might not say anything nice about either one of you for the final, however many games this series goes. But for the record, you're on a roll.
For the life of me, Al, I can't remember what he said when the game started.
A whole lot of nothing. Bases loaded for the Marlins. And a double play chance here. They get one. They get two. A run scores to make it 12-3. That run is an unearned run. Against Mark Pryor, there you see Kerry Wood. How good was he during that National League Division Series against the Chicago Cubs?
And we talked about how young all these starters are, Wood included. We know it's a young staff, but we walked through the Cubs locker room before the game. And Kerry Wood was playing some child's game in there. What was that game called? Toss across or stack four or
Connect four.
Connect four.
I like that.
I haven't seen that game since my 5-year-old was playing it last week.
I saw Al playing it in the hotel earlier today.
Must be a secret tournament going on that I didn't know about. And Kerry's just freshening up.
Breaking ball in there, a strike.
Now, you know you have a young clubhouse when the players are stealing toys out of the wives' room to entertain themselves before games.
I'm not sure anyone has left this ballpark that was here when we got started. Knocking on the door at 40,000, and here the Cubs have a 12-3 lead in the 8th inning. Of course, they're trying to get a league championship series win for the first time since '89. That one blown away, ball 4 to Jeff Conine. Time to take a look at our game summary. Presented by Nissan. Brad Penny really struggled in his 2+ innings. We talked about Mark Pryor. Alex Gonzalez, 4 home runs in his last 3 postseason games. And Kenny Lofton, the second Cub, with a 4-hit game in the postseason since the great Stan Hack. The Cubs' last visit to the World Series in 1945. Runners on the corners, and Mike Lowell getting his second at bat of the game. He lined out to the wall in left field his first time up after homering to win a game last night.
Dave Veer's getting a chance to get his work in. Not only get his work in, but he threw a 3-2 split to Conine. He's saying 3-2 split in a score like this, but that's a pitch he's going to need when it's a lot closer.
Well, this is that confidence-building inning for Dave Veers, just as you spoke of. Came in, got the double play ball, walked a guy. He has a chance to come back right here and get the job done.
Chased the fastball up and pops it up. Resnick's got it, and that's that in the 8th. Hi, for everything else, there's MasterCard. And by Subway. Subway, eat fresh. What in the world happened there? I have never seen a pitch like that.
Is that a strike?
Slipped out of his hand.
You see the way he hooks that ball down around his ankle before he lets it go and then throws it into his own dugout.
I always wanted to do that.
On purpose.
Line one hopper at Lowell. One away. And even Dontrell getting a chuckle out of that. First pitch thrown by Michael Tejera. This week on the NFL, Fox NFL Sunday kicks everything off with America's #1 pregame show. Then the Buccaneers take on the Redskins or other regional action. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. The biggest stories are in the NFC and the NFC on Fox. Look at your old buddy Ozzie Guillen and Lenny Harris over there.
They're hiding from Tejera. Oh, and that's one of the great things that Ozzie does for this club. I mean, right now you're getting bounced around pretty good, but you need to be able to keep your sense of humor as a team. You're going to come out of here with a 1-1 split, which is what you were hoping for. You're getting bombed today, but you had a good run yesterday, and you got to be able to at least have fun with this and not get down. It's a long flight if everyone has their head between their legs, you know, with their tails between their legs going home.
Eric Karros pinch hitting for Randall Simon. A good night for Simon, and that one not quite as far as the Marlin dugout.
He's having really a tough time with that grip. That's the replay of the Ramirez pitch that he threw into the dugout.
Grounded to the right side and into right field, a base hit in the first at bat of this league championship series for Eric Karros. In fact, for Karros, that's his first league championship series at bat. His only other trips to the playoffs, 3 and out in back-to-back years as a Dodger, in '95 against the Reds and in '96 against Atlanta.
How about some production out of that first baseman spot in the lineup for the Chicago Cubs today?
Randall Simon had 3 hits, a couple of runs batted in, scored a run, and now Karros. And Ramon Martinez batting for the first time. Lines one to the track, 2 away.
Pretty sure when I saw Karros a day ago, he didn't have a goatee. Doesn't take him long. I think he shaved before this game started. It took him a while to get in it.
Now Baco. Swing and a miss. Baco has caught the entire night and has had a good night at the plate. 2 hits, a walk. He's knocked in a run, scored 3. Well, you guys were talking earlier about how Dusty Baker might utilize his bullpen and get some guys a little work in relief of Pryor, and Beers got the first crack at it, and Al, as you suspected, a good idea to get Guthrie warmed up in a game with a huge lead and let him feel good about the way things are headed.
It's a great move by Dusty. Let Guthrie get out there, throw his split. He's got plenty of wiggle room. Feeling the high fives coming off the field, assuming that the score stays the way it is.
Is that the kind of thing, you know, maybe you're sitting in the dugout and your manager at the other end of the dugout? I mean, obviously you're not trying to tell him how to do his job. But a case where maybe a player would even walk up and say, hey, you know, this is kind of, or no?
No. I've never had a relationship like that with a manager to suggest those things.
I did. I used to ask to play all the time. It just never worked. You think I could get in? It's 11-2 now. Oh, no, I don't think we're safe.
That was your old manager, Felipe Alou.
Yeah, and every other manager I had.
Swing and a miss. A good inning of work for Tejera. And Guthrie will indeed get that chance in the ninth, with the Cubs leading by 9. Dugout. I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact that they've come here to Wrigley and split the first 2, but they're having a little fun with Tejera after that pitch. Comes back in the dugout.
That was your first pitch in a league championship series ended up, well, at least it didn't end up in the seats. It ended up in the dugout.
That's good stuff. A lot of changes for the Cubs on defense here in the top of the 9th inning. Tommy Goodwin in right. Ramon Martinez stays in the game to play short. Eric Caro stays in there to play first. And they're going to allow Beers to face the right-handed batting Mordecai. And I would imagine we would see Guthrie then come on to face Pierre.
There might be some people in the stands and in the opposing dugout that would say, what are we making a pitching change for now? It's that late. You're killing them.
Short center, Lofton there, 1 away.
I'll tell you, one of the guys is now, here comes Dusty Baker to come out and get Dave Beers. One of the guys that made me respect this move was Clint Hurdle, doing a local game with the Arizona Diamondbacks. It was a game similar to this, not in the playoffs, and they made a move, and I kind of made the comment about the fact that, well, aren't the Rockies out of the playoffs? Why are we doing this now? And Clint Hurdle came to me afterwards and said, you know, we have the greatest jobs in the world. Let's just continue to do them.
You know that story you were telling?
Yeah, I was telling it right into the break. You guys all heard the end of it. No one else did. It's all right, though. Wasn't that good?
Mark Guthrie, as outliers suspected, will come on and try to get the final 2 outs of the game. And he takes care of Pierre. Steve, please do finish that story, because I know it was something that definitely made a mark on you as this season went on.
He just said, you know, I made a move because I needed to get a guy in there pitching. I knew I was out of the game, but I have a job to do. You have a job to do. We have the best jobs in the world. Why not? Let's just do them. And he was absolutely right.
Now Lenny Harris, who began the year with the Cubs, Major League Baseball's all-time pinch hit leader, a native of Miami, and the Cubs turned him loose, and Florida immediately picked him up. And that is a fair ball diving play by Caro. Speed to Guthrie, and he will be able to high-five his teammates after getting the final 2 outs, and the Cubs win their first League Championship Series game since 1989.
How about how nonchalantly Carroll's just flipped it, and then Guthrie just barehanding the stuff. Harris very jokingly looks at Carroll and said, come on, you can't let that thing go by for me.
Mark Pryor, his second outstanding effort in the postseason. Went 7+ innings tonight, allowed 2 earned runs, struck out 5, allowed 8 base hits. And this National League Championship Series is even at 1 game apiece. Kerry Wood and Mark Redmond will lock up in what might be on paper the best pitching matchup of this series. Redmond has had a fabulous year, and you know all about Kerry Wood. Let's send it downstairs and join Josh Lewin.
All right, with one of the 2 Alex Gonzalez in this series, the Alex Gonzalez that has hit 4 home runs in his last 3 games. Is it fair to say you're in a groove, Alex?
I've been seeing the ball pretty good, and it started in Atlanta and carried over here against Florida.
You get to go home now. You're from Miami. Pretty special for you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I got a lot of people there that are ready for the games, and you know, to play in the postseason at home is a special treat.
You figure that ball Sammy hit is still traveling?
He hit that a mile, you know, and he can do it every once in a while.
Congratulations, Alex. All right. Cubs win. Let's go back upstairs.
All right, Josh Lewin, a pleasure having you with us. Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. This dynamic duo, 1-2 punch in the first call for Pryor. He gets a win.
Well, I think Al made an excellent point when he was talking about the fact that when Pryor had to bear down, when he got in a little bit of trouble, he made the pitches he had to. The 2 runs he gave up, solo shots. You kind of pumping him in there. Guys hit him out of the park, but when he got in a little trouble, guys on base, he was nails.
Off day tomorrow in this series, and then game 3 in front of close to 70,000 fans in South Florida. And we'll have it for you right here on Fox. For Steve Lyons, Al Leiter, Josh Lewin, and our entire crew, Tom Brenneman saying good night from Chicago. We look forward to getting together again on Friday night.
Monday, October 20th, a real American